Hello, and welcome to this video interview with Omdia and Telenor to talk about the rise of AIoT and why 2024 is the time for action. I'm David Green, I'm Consulting Director at Applied Intelligence at Omdia, and I'm joined today by two guests from Telenor, Martin Whitlock, who's CTO at Telenor IoT, and Aiva Martin Kanaita, who is Senior Vice President and Head of Telenor Research and Innovation. Martin and Aiva, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Omdia and Telenor have just published our IoT Prediction Report 2024 titled Navigating the Perfect Storm, AIoT to Emerge as the Defining Enabler of Digital Transformation. I guess, what is AIoT? AI for IoT? It's the convergence of AI technologies into an IoT application, where IoT brings the data, but AI is bringing the ability to unlock that business value. Or as we say in the paper, IoT is the central nervous system and AI is the brain. We know that the IoT part of adoption for digital transformation is well underway. In fact, 88% of respondents in an Omdia survey said that IoT is being adopted across their business units or is integral to their digital transformation strategy. I guess the interesting part is the rising adoption of AI and where that fits in, and particularly as we head into this year. So let me ask that first question, and Aiva, ask to you is, why does 2024 mark that inflection point for AIoT adoption?
Thanks, David. A very good and very interesting question. Well, first of all, it's certainly that inflection point in my view, and the reasons are a couple of those. First, it's the technology-related reason. I mean, if you look at what has happened within AI space, particularly on accessibility of this technology last year, we already see that accessibility increased with generative AI adoption and general adoption of AI. The second is, let's look at the compute. The compute is getting much more powerful, smaller in terms of size, much more energy efficient, and much more distributed. So that also sort of accelerates the adoption of various types of use cases with that compute infrastructure getting cheaper and much more accessible. And then there's also macroeconomic reasons. If you look at especially Europe, but also elsewhere in the world, IoT provides very unique data from heavy industries, manufacturing, automotive, where now I think we see the opportunity space simply because it's getting much more difficult to actually increase profitability for these companies due to these macro trends. So they're really looking at technology and opportunities to increase profitability, increase efficiency. And I think IoT and AI combined with our new, of course, connectivity protocols is definitely an answer. So conclusion, macro reasons, technology evolvement, and I think increased general adoption of data among industry.
Right, it's the kind of rising tide to lift all the ships in the AI space, right? And particularly, not just with generative AI, but I think the wave of awareness from generative AI certainly pushed a lot more people to look into this in the last 12 months and as we head to next year. You mentioned some of the use cases there, some of the vertical industries, and I think it's interesting, the applicability of AIoT spans so many different areas. So Martin, what do you think are the verticals or applications that you think where AIoT can deliver the most value?
Wow, I think it's actually a lot of answers to that one. And to start off with, I think the marriage of IoT and AI, I was touching upon it, has always been a very promising combination, actually, or a promising union almost, because IoT by itself is there to generate data of some sorts. That's the typical use case. You want to have sensors or other information sources that are distributed in a large fleet of connected devices, and the combination of them generate typically a lot of data. So you need some systems and tools to process that, because having humans doing it by themselves is typically not feasible at all, right? So that said, basically all applications utilizing IoT also have sort of a utilization of AI somewhere. And I think we're talking a lot about AIoT these days, and of course AI in general with the democratization of the technology has really pushed that forward, and the awareness is so much great now. But that said, AI has been in play in different ways in a lot of different applications. It's been predictive maintenance use cases for all types of manufactured devices and what have you. But I think we may not have seen it that visibly. It's been a little bit under the surface, right? But now we talk about it. Now it's much more visible. It's accessible, and of course, the technology advances that Eva is talking about has of course pushed it even further. But that said, there are of course certain industries and verticals that might be even more forward-leaning here, and it's hard not to mention the automotive industry. Just imagine the number of sensors and decisions, micro decisions that are continuously taken by a maybe not self-driving car, but we're taking steps there, right? We have the lane assist controls, we have the collision warnings, and all these things that it requires quite a lot of compute power, and typically then on board the automotive or the car itself. Yeah. So that's of course one use case, but there are. My point is that it doesn't matter if it's a connected pump or any type of industrial application. Actually, you have sensors and you have the use of analyzing the data that's been generated, so it goes everywhere.
Right. I think in the paper we talk about kind of automotive, smart cities, and manufacturing as three to call out. Eva, are there any that particularly stand out for you? I guess automotive has come up twice already, right? But are there any that stand out to you?
Yeah, I think I particularly like what you mentioned, David, also, and that what we mentioned also in our white paper report. I mean, smart cities, if you look at the challenges in large cities, but also small cities, I mean, the air pollution, the water pollution, the energy systems, how inefficiently those are run today, all of these problems that really are that the municipalities are facing, or general governments are facing in the countries, are very huge, actually. And I truly believe that the ability now to make micro decisions or even bigger decisions and help those decision makers use data in a much more advanced way by using AI is an opportunity. One interesting case, which we also in Telenor have been looking at for a couple of years, is actually to reducing particle dust levels in cities. And this is possible when you put sensors in on different types of devices, and on top of it, optimizing the traffic based on these sensor metrics or metering that actually is provided. So opportunities are immense. I think it's totally agree with Martin. It's so important that awareness and accessibility of this technology is increasing. And that's where I also personally believe that would actually make a huge impact now going forward.
Right, and it's interesting you talk about the ever increasingly diverse data sources, for example, within IoT. Of course, every use case, every application, it comes down to the data. AI can only work off good data to produce a good result. But on that data, the data itself is nothing without being timely and accurate. So without me being kind of too leading on that, let me ask you the question, Martin, of what role, therefore, does connectivity and cellular connectivity play in that kind of successful and scalable AIoT adoption?
Sure. No, as you said, I mean, connectivity and having the ability to, first of all, collect the data and treat it, but also actually life cycle manage your models and the technology that is distributed is an important part of this concept of AIoT. That can be done by any connectivity means, of course. The advantage of cellular technology is that it's more or less globally available, at least much more so than many of the other technologies. So for anything that is connected in some kind of a macro environment, I guess that cellular technology really has the advantage here. But I think in combination with that, I think that the AI technology in itself actually also helps the cellular networks to perform even better. And this is something I believe a lot of enterprises need to consider going forward when they adopt AI in the IoT context, because you can do the analysis of the data in so many levels these days. And of course, the 5G networks that are coming out now allows this to an even greater scale with the technology that provides the edge computing concepts and so on. But already today, you can choose to collect data into cloud environment and do the AI analytics there. You can do embedded analytics even on quite constrained devices, and I know the hardware industry is really picking up pace here to support those kind of use cases with dedicated circuits to boost AI compute power and so on embedded devices. And then you have the middleware where you could, in a 5G context at least, have some computing done close to the edge, right? So, but this also means that you have the ability to decide whether you need to transport all your data up to the cloud. I mean, depending on the application, it could be huge amounts of data. Just going back to the smart car I talked about earlier. I mean, it's gigabytes of data that's being generated by these sensors, and obviously they need to be processed in the car, right? So that's one option. But I think what we see now happening when all these technology converge is that you have different opportunities and abilities, and you can optimize your application based on the use case. So understanding what you really need to do with it comes as probably the first priority, and then you can adopt the technology depending on your needs.
Right. Start with the outcome in mind, right? Is the key. And okay, so we've talked about applications, we've talked about technologies, we've talked about cloud versus edge. There is a huge range of choices almost for enterprises as they start to look at this. So let's talk about the enterprise view for a second. And Aiva, for you, what do you think are those biggest challenges that they need to look at and overcome as they begin their AIoT adoption journey?
I think for every enterprise in this very hyped environment of technology revolution as we're living in, everyone talks about generative AI, everyone talks about, all types of machine learning applications. I think number one importance, in my view, would be to really understand the business problems that you as a company are facing and what type of technologies may actually enable and support you to solve. I think de-hyping the technologies are very important in this very in a quite disciplined way to understand what actually you need as a company, what technologies you already have, and which technologies you can or you need to adopt and apply. That would be my first thing. The second, this time shows that the strategic importance of data, and I talk about data governance, data processing, handling, accessing, uploading, downloading, improving the people, kind of organizational part around it, has never been more important than today. The reason for that, there will be no AI for IoT if there will be no good quality, accessible data available for the people. So I would say data strategy, discipline, understanding of business needs and how technology provides that opportunity, and upskilling of your force. I mean, we definitely are entering a very exciting, exciting years, but we really need to have our people with more digital skills, not only those AI scientists or data scientists, but we really need to have much broader availability and awareness of that in the organization. So I would say these three things are probably among the most important to start focusing on.
Right. I think Martin mentioned the democratization word earlier, right, for AI, and that's certainly a focus for a lot of enterprises. So if those are the challenges, Martin, let me ask you the kind of final question then. Now we've talked about the technology, the people, the process, the technology. What are your recommendations? 2024, this year of inflection that we are predicting, what's your recommendations for enterprises looking to get started?
I think that the first recommendation would be to get going. And I say that because if you back a few years, you probably had a situation where you could adopt IoT or AI as a way of differentiating yourself. But at least with IoT, and I believe also very soon with AI, you're in a situation where more or less everyone is doing it, right? So you have to be on that train not to stay relevant. And to continue to elaborate a bit about what Eva said, I think to me the key is probably to start by exploring and do that as a joint effort with different disciplines in your company, because it's very hard for me to see that you have a successful path doing it with data scientists or AI experts only on one end, but the actual benefits, they're coming from the business, right? So you need to short circuit basically your business owners with the ones who's good at the technology. And because it's first when you have product owners, operational staff, and all these people that sit with the operational hassle from day to day, when they understand the power of AIoT and similar technologies, that's when they can, get help from it as well. Otherwise, it might end up as a technology project, which doesn't really solve any business value. So I think that would be the key recommendation from my side.
Eva, it's like you were talking about, the outcomes.
I love it. I mean, get going, do it now. And I really like Martin's point about exploration. It comes with leadership, right? Providing space, time, combining good people. And I definitely agree on this cross-functional business/technology orientation, having agile teams, fast-moving teams, and just providing that space, building that culture, starting small would be my recommendation. I mean, what we see also in Telenor, we're not having these large technology programs running. This is really about small experimentations where you would actually start solving problems and believing that the technology can help. Remember, technology also can sometimes mean risks and dangers, and people may actually are concerned about it, which they have concerns. Generative AI is one example, but not trying this in a kind of more secured environment wouldn't allow us to move very fast. So really like Martin's point, just get going.
So that's it. Enterprises need to seize the AI advantage in 2024. And that's what we have in our paper. So, the addition of AI to IoT is not just an incremental upgrade. It really has the potential to be truly transformative. And yeah, I think you've heard from all of us that 2024 is the time to investigate, start deploying, and that's important for any organization aspiring to compete in the digital age. So if you enjoyed today's chat, do look out and read the full report or ebook. But for today, let me thank Martin and Eva. Thank you both for joining us. And of course, thank you to everybody for watching this video.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.